what's up? These are my doll shelves, and as you can see, I've got a lot of dolls. Most of these were customised before I started making repaint videos on the channel, so here's a bunch of new faces for you. Sometimes after a while after making the doll, I remake it again using new skills I've acquired and learned, like my Merlina doll, which I've posted on my Instagram account. As you know from my Jigglypuff video, I'm a pretty big Pokémon fan, so I set myself a challenge to remake one of my first ever custom dolls, Shiny Mega Gardevoir. As you can see, the quality of my dolls has drastically improved since I made her. I thought I should use the same doll and remake the face, wig and clothes, but then in the end I decided I was going to use a brand new base because I found a more appropriate doll to use. Mega Gardevoir is my favourite Pokemon after all, so what's wrong with having two of them? I wanted to take the proper precautions and create a concept art before I got started. As well as the actual Pokemon, I took inspiration from Rose Quartz from the Steven universe, I'm a big fan, and Rosalina from the Mario series. The designs are similar to the ones I envisioned her to have, and their personalities are also similar. I also made a Pinterest board full of ideas relevant to the theme I was going for. After a lot of fun playing around with ideas, here's the concept art I came up with. You may be wondering, what's up with the sword and shield? Well, something interesting I discovered when looking into Gardevoir's origin is that they are partially inspired by knights, with the Japanese name in fact being Sir Knight. That would explain the whole protect its trainer even at the cost of its own life kind of deal. I can picture my Gardevoir fighting boldly and elegantly with its sword. With that giant intro out the way, shall we start the doll? This is a kind of old Catrine doll of mine, so she's already been cleaned up quite a while back. I'm going to start with the wig, which is something I haven't made on the channel at all. I take a really nice stretchy piece of knit fabric and bind it over the head using an elastic band and paint several layers of fabric glue to set the shape. To make the hair, I'm using this lovely blue wool. Then I brush it out and straighten it, just like how I did in my Jigglypuff video. I make these into wefts and glue them to the wig cap. For more information about this process, please check out Mozekito's channel. She's got loads of detailed tutorials on doll wigs and it's really helped me out in the past. Let's start the repaint. As usual, I'm going to use brushes, chalk pastels, watercolour pencils, and some brand new micro glitter. I wanted my Gardevoir to have some sparkle to represent the fact that she's a shiny. I draw the eyelid shape and iris guidelines in blue watercolour. And dust in some eyeshadow using the pastel. Then I draw in her eyebrows, giving her a stern yet gentle expression. Lots of people ask how I seal the paint on my dolls' faces. Truth is, I don't use Mr. Super Clear sealant because I'm scared of its toxicity. So I paint on Mod Podge glue, which is also a sealant, very carefully. And sometimes it does smear the watercolour pencil a bit, since it is water soluble. But it's never really been too bad for me, and if I mess up, it's okay to replicate. Now I go back and forth using watercolour pencils and acrylic paints, adding more detail and shading to the eyes and irises. Now it's time for the little eye shines. I feel they aid to bring life into the face, you know? And finally, I glue on fake eyelashes, but only on one side of her face since she's going to have the other side covered up by her hair. I also forgot to add gloss varnish, so I paint it on carefully now to give her eyes some lovely shine. Now it's time to make her dress. To make sure my pattern worked as well as I wanted it to, I made a test run to fix problems with the pattern, and it worked pretty well, so I made a start on the bodice. The pattern is copied from Madeline Hatter's Mirror Beach swimsuit, with the top slightly modified to make a heart shape. I sew the two side seams down to the front panel and along the crotch seam. Then I sew at the back and attach the Velcro, and then the bodice is done. If only the skirt was that quick and easy. I begin with the top panel. I cut 8 little curved trapezium pieces and sew them all together to make a curved strip, being careful not to sew the final seam so it forms a full circle. You'll see why. I repeat this process again with the lower panel, which is a thin, long trapezium. Then I turn and sew along the bottom to give it a finished edge. Now I carefully pin and sew the two pieces together, which wasn't easy. To give the skirt a thinner waist, I turn and sew a small casing of fabric and thread a string of elastic through and sew one of the ends in place so it doesn't move around. Then I sew that along the top of the skirt and gather the elastic and then sew the second end down. Now all I need to do is sew up the back of the skirt and then it's done! Ta-da! For her shoes, I'm pretty sure these are Raven Queen's original shoes, but I wanted to modify them slightly to fit my design. I want to give them a heel, so I carefully cut the backs off and pierce a pin through to work as the base. Then I use my epoxy sculpt clay to block out the shape. Epoxy sculpt is a 2-part clay that activates when mixed evenly and dries after a few hours. While I have it out, I sculpt her tiny gauntlets, which I unfortunately couldn't film because my thumbs kept getting in the way, so sorry about that. For her forearms, I extend the gauntlets by sewing a tube of craft foam into a cylindrical shape, then further decorating them with 3D paint. Now everything's dry, I paint them black with a few metallic details to bring out the raised design. And then I made her chest plate in the exact same way I made Excalibur's armour, by heat shaping craft foam over my model doll's body and adding raised details with the 3D paint again. The butterfly is actually just a metal butterfly charm of mine which I painted. Then I fade the middle to white to create a glowing core effect, which I quite liked at the time. To attach it to the test plate, I just sew it in place with white thread. And it was at this point when I realised I didn't really like the glowing core effect that much at all anymore, so I painted it back to orange, which I think was good. And to attach it to the bodice, I just hot glued it in place. It's weapon time! I wanted her sword to be a rapier, so I cut a knitting needle to use as the blade. I made the hilt at the same time I made the chest plate, so it's just a decorated foam piece. I glue it to the blade and sew the bottom part around the bottom of the blade to hold it in place. Then I further decorate the sword by adding a pearl bead and a flower to the base. What's the importance of this pearl, you may ask? Well, after it's painted, it becomes her mega stone. I can picture the stone forming into the sword as she mega evolves. Pretty cool, right? For the shield, I wanted to give a big shout out to my dad for helping me heat form this scrap piece of ABS plastic, also known as Stormtrooper armour. He also helped by cutting the hard plastic into the circle shape, so thanks so much, Dad! After painting it turquoise, I fade the edges to white and paint some stars on the Leo constellation, which is my star sign. I figured the psychic bond between a Gardevoir and its trainer should be apparent in some part of its appearance, don't you think? Now my least favourite part, cutting her hair. After gluing the wig cap to her head, I wet the hair and begin to snip away. This is my least favourite part because I'm not fully confident at cutting hair, and I also really liked her long hair. Sadly, it doesn't fit with the design, so it had to be cut. And now I think she's done! Thank you so much for watching. Please follow me on Instagram for a behind the scenes look at my projects and dolls, and feel free to tag me in your projects and I'll try to reply to them. See you next time. Bye!